A top 25 showdown in Los Angeles where USC is fighting to continue its playoff hopes. If the Trojans win out, they will be in the college football playoff because next week they travel to Eugene and play Oregon. So if you rattle off a top 25 win, which in my top 25, which is all I use to, well, I won't go down that rabbit hole right now. Iowa's in the top 25. They fell one spot after losing to Oregon. I want to applaud the committee for that, by the way. They lost on a field goal with 3 seconds to go against a really good Oregon team. And Iowa at 6-3 in the top 25. They won't be if they lose this game to USC, nor should they be, because they've lost 4 football games, and that's too many. Maybe you can get back there if you win your last 2 and go 8-4. But for Iowa in this spot, if they were at home, there would be a term that you hear pretty often in the college football landscape get thrown out: wounded animal mode, bounce back mode. I want to get there for Iowa. I don't know if USC is the spot. Iowa is not as good of a football team as Michigan. Michigan's been better this year. The worst loss Michigan took this season was in the very stadium Iowa's going to be playing this week. The Trojans, according to our friends at FanDuel, are favored by 6.5 points. Now, whenever you talk about an Iowa game, you can do this for any game, but it's especially true with the Hawkeyes. You have to evaluate all 3 sides of the ball. And so, which team has a better offense? We know that's USC. Which team has a better defense? We know that's Iowa. Which special teams do I trust more? The answer is Iowa. Now, here's the question. What's the gap? What's the gap between Iowa's defense and USC's defense, and USC's special teams and Iowa's special teams? Is it smaller on the whole than the gap between the 2 offenses? I believe that it is, and that's why the Trojans are favored in this spot. Can I see Iowa keeping it close? Yes. Could I see Iowa winning? Yes, absolutely. I'm not in that camp. I am not. USC has made adjustments from last year, and they should be commended for that because they have improved the run defense, which is going to be important against an Iowa team that did not run the ball last week. And that is a very prideful unit that just gave up 260 on the ground to Oregon. Can USC do the same? If USC goes for over 200 yards on the ground in this game, it's over. It is absolutely, positively over. Iowa has no shot at winning. If they can keep it closer to 150, that's more in the conversation, in my mind, of what Iowa needs to do to be able to pull off the upset in this spot. But USC, quietly, perhaps, to some who haven't been paying as much attention, is running the ball better than it has in the last couple of seasons, and much more consistently, no matter who has been back there. No matter who they're handing the ball off to, it's worked for USC. It has worked. So, USC's favored by 6.5 points here, and I do think Iowa's a good team. I do. Do I think they're a great team? No. Do I think USC is a great team? I think they're closer to it than the Hawkeyes. And they're at home, traveling across the country. Iowa traveling to the West Coast, it hasn't gone well. Has not gone well in the long history, the recent history. This is not a spot where I feel like an upset is ripe for happening. I don't need to let this one sit for another day before I make my prediction. I'll take USC to win. The over-under at FanDuel is 49.5. In Iowa games, you always take the under, right? It's the most obvious thing. Yeah, why don't we go ahead and do that again? I will go 28-17. USC beats Iowa and sets up a showdown in Eugene next week in a game that USC has to have. Oregon doesn't necessarily have to have, presuming they take care of Minnesota on Friday night. I suspect they will, especially if the weather clears up and they can throw the ball a little bit again. But USC at Oregon next week will have serious, major, high-octane playoff implications, particularly for the Trojans, if they are able to beat Iowa. Because if they lose this week, then all they're doing next week is trying to play spoiler for Oregon as best they can. I think USC can be plenty motivated for that. But 9-3 Iowa or 9-3 USC, neither one of those teams is making the college football playoff. So USC's got to win, and I believe that they will. 28-17. How about Texas, Georgia? This is the one that I think about because I've been someone who's more down on Texas in my top 25 and just in general than a lot of folks who think, oh, Texas has figured it out. Texas has done all this. And they just ignore that part of the reason they've gotten on a winning streak is they almost lost to Kentucky and they almost lost to Mississippi State. Now, they won those games on the road. Oh wait, they're where on the road? They're playing Georgia on the road this week. That's right. That's right. Now, between this and the Alabama-Oklahoma game, I do think Texas is more likely to win. Heck, I even think they're more likely to win this game than Iowa is to go to USC and win. That doesn't mean that I'm picking Texas, because I'm absolutely not. So Georgia at home here has got a sneaky amount of urgency with one loss already on the resume, even though it's to Alabama. They've still got Georgia Tech later this year, maybe the SEC championship game, maybe not. But Texas on the road this season, like a lot of teams, not as good as they have been at home. And so Arch Manning on the road, here's what I wonder most about in this game. Are we finally going to see Georgia's defense feel or look anything like Georgia's defense? Because I trust the Georgia offense. Coming into this year, I wanted to see Georgia run the ball better, and they are doing just that. Their array of backs, I think Nate Frazier is a mega talent. He was coming out of high school. He, to me, looks better and better as the season goes on. Can he get going against this Texas defense? Well, if he doesn't, I trust Gunnar Stockton. They can hit you with some quick game action, or they can push the ball down the field pretty well. I like what I've seen from the Georgia offense. And I think that Texas's defense for the last couple of years has been one of the best units in all of college football. But this is also a group that on the road gave up 29 points to Florida. So I don't think that Texas's defense is quite where I expected it to be. Is it still good? Yes, very much so. I think Gunnar Stockton and the Georgia offense is going to do more than enough to propel them to a win in this game. And I just wonder, against Arch Manning, who has played football, I've been very critical of him from the beginning of the season because he hasn't played that much good football. He has started to figure it out. He has started to look significantly better as this year has gone on. If he does that here on the road, even though Georgia's defense isn't what it used to be, I will not hop on board the Arch hype train, but I won't try and talk it off of the tracks or convince others to jump off of the train. Because you're still going on the road, you're still playing a Georgia defense that I get the sense when you've got a head coach like Kirby Smart is going to find a way to get his team playing its best football. That's what great head coaches in college and the NFL have historically done. We saw that with Ryan Day last year. Andy Reid's always been a great late season coach. Bill Belichick, just keep going up and down. Kirby Smart's still a really good coach. And the Georgia defense has not been very good all season. Can they look or feel just a little like the Georgia defense that propelled them to back-to-back national championships? We know they aren't going to get to that level. But can they go out and in this spot at home hold Texas under? And remember, a Texas team last year that I think was better than the Texas team they've got this year. And last year's Georgia team and this year's Georgia team, I think they're pretty close. Georgia went 2-0 in those games. Won the SEC championship, won in Austin. I think they will win in Athens as well. But I think that between Texas, Iowa, and Oklahoma, I think Texas has the best chance to win. I do. Because Arch Manning has the best opportunity to have success on the road, in my view, compared to the other quarterbacks I've talked about on today's show going against Georgia, which is a crazy thing to say, but it's the best shot. So according to our friends at FanDuel, Georgia is favored at home by 5.5 points. The over-under is 48.5. I do like the over in this spot. I think Georgia wins. I think Georgia covers the 5.5. Give me the Bulldogs, 31-24 over the Longhorns, and they knock Texas either to the brink of playoff elimination or what I hope is out of it. I hope we never see a 3-loss team in the playoff. I don't know if the committee is going to go there, but I think Georgia gets it done, 31-24.